Rand, I need another episode of Fully Cinematic.
France seems to be having a full-on renaissance at the cinema this year. Following on the heels of Chevalier and with an obvious piece of Oscar bait about Napoleon's punk ready to pounce, we've been treated to another biopic of a notable French historical figure. So tighten up your corset, throw on your white wig, grab your passport, and join me as I run down Jeanne du Barry. And oh yeah, there will be spoilers. We're introduced to a young Jean Fabernier, the daughter of a monk and a cook, Anne Bichou, who raises her as a single mother with plenty of financial aid from her employer, Monsieur de Monchaux, who pays for Jean's schooling and lets her attend his soirees with his rich friends. She's enrolled at the convent of St. Aurea, where the nuns chastise her for reading smut. After graduation, Dumonchaux's wife kicks mom and daughter out after falsely accusing Anne of theft. They move to Paris, where Anne pressures John into modeling before a widow, Madame de la Garde, hires her to serve as her reader, and her two sons invite her to their orgies. After their mom fires her for hopping, Jean joins Madame Quiznoy's stable and moves into her brothel, where she meets Comte Guillaume du Barry. She quickly moves in with him and his son Adolphe.
What?
Where she becomes the count's mistress and courtesan circulating through rich tricks, the aristocracy. This relationship quickly frustrates her as the arrangement leaves Jean feeling unloved. Du Barry's friend, a duke with whom he introduces women to the king, convinces Barry to arrange for their Majesty Louis XV to see Jean so he'll think meeting her is his idea, given that he's so picky that their girls rarely satisfy him. It works. Louis spots her next to Goldie at court and subsequently sends for her with the finder's fee for Bishop Don Magic, letting him know that you chose me, which worked out great because 21 Jump Street wanted the honey, all Du Barry wanted was the money. Later that day at the House of Versailles, she's inspected for STDs, questioned about vaginal itch, and warned by Jean-Benjamin Francois de la Borde to never turn her back on the king. Bypassing the proposed quarantine, Jean meets Sweeney Todd alone in his bedroom, where she gives him the special. The following morning, she's allowed to watch the monarch from behind a two-way mirror as he begins his day, attended by various servants, his daughters, and the Dauphin de France, the king's grandson and heir to the throne. Afterwards, she's gifted a diamond necklace and invited to live in the palace. She's subsequently spotted hiding in a carriage with Laborde at a royal hunt attended by the prime minister, the family, and various attendants. Not long after, the queen, Marie Lazinska, dies, and Gilbert Grape's daughters lodge their disapproval of his tricking off on her during their time of mourning. In order to make Jean's presence at court acceptable, she's married off to Mr. White Folks, who's paid a sizable sum, making her the Countess du Barry. Meanwhile, Laborde, who happens to be the premier valet de la chambre, continues to give Jean the ism, and she shows how well she paid attention by making a fashionably late entrance to dinner in a white and gold dress with a long train. Lady J officially succeeds the previous bottom chief royal mistress, another Jean, the late Jean Antoinette Poisson, otherwise known as Madame Pompadour, and gifted a Bengali slave boy, Zamor, at dinner. Man, these people. And given a suite at Versailles, complete with a butler, hairdresser, and other servants. He kept her looking good, pretty, and all that, but no dough. If she woke up one morning with some money, she'd have been subject to go crazy. For her first royal hunt, Jean scandalizes the court by dressing like a man. Anne expresses fear for her daughter should the astronaut's wife's husband dump her with no property, pretty Tony style, and questions the fact that he hasn't married her. But Captain Jack subsequently blesses her with a chateau. While his ugliest two daughters, Adelaide and Victoire, insult Zamora with his snide comments, Donnie Brasco's youngest legitimate daughter, Louise Marie de France, gives up her titles and becomes a nun, which leads her father into a dark depression. Subsequently, Jean learns from Laborde that although she's the king's bottom favorite, the Mad Hatter has other women because he likes new. 4 years later, Jean marries Adolphe, and the Dauphin, Louis Auguste, marries Marie Antoinette, the Archduchess of Austria. At a court dinner, Jean causes another scandal by wearing a white dress and engaging in PDA with Don Juan de Marco. Mortified, Grindelwald's offended daughters convince Marie to alienate Jean on their behalf. When various noblewomen freeze Jeanne out in church, the Dauphin offers her a seat next to himself and Marie. When Laborde interrupts to tell her that Adolphe has been seriously injured in a duel. He subsequently dies from his injuries, and the royal mean girls tease her for mourning him. Ed Wood intervenes, but Madame Dauphine deviates from the plan to publicly make amends with Jeanne. After registering his disapproval with nothing but a stern look, Marie realizes that relations between France and Austria are in jeopardy, and Adelaide and Victor make fun of her about it. Marie subsequently acknowledges Jeanne's existence by publicly remarking to her, "There are many people at Versailles today," which leads the latter, overjoyed, to run to Willy Wonka, interrupt his meeting, and kiss him in gratitude. But the 64-year-old soon contracts smallpox. Laborde warns Jeanne to pack because the royal family will evict his bottom. Before leaving, Jeanne asks to say her goodbyes. A request is denied until the Dauphin overrides it. Accompanied by Laborde, Jeanne finally tells Sherlock Gnomes that she loves him, and he reciprocates. Jeanne bids Versailles adieu in a carriage, leaving Zamora and Laborde behind. With his last words, Rango asks Laborde to take care of Jeanne, which sounds like completely fabricated bull. Anyway, Jeanne joins a convent where she stays for a year before being pardoned by the Dauphin, who's now the reigning king, Louis XVI, on the condition that she never return to Versailles. We're told that she then lived peacefully in Lovkin for 15 years before the revolution, shortly before which Marie finally offered her friendship to Jeanne. She was beheaded on December 8, 1793, after being accused of treason by Zamora. Jeanne du Barry premiered as the opener at the Cannes Film Festival in 2023. It also marked co-star Johnny Depp's cinematic comeback following a stint in Hollywood purgatory after being sued by his violent ex-wife Amber Heard, against whom he was awarded $15 million following a 2022 defamation trial between the two. Though the movie's a biopic of Jeanne, Depp steals the show right from under star, director, producer, and writer May Wynn, reminding detractors that his dramatic chops are just as potent as his comedic mugging. Say what? No. Potent, good. Get the out of here. Johnny, who speaks French throughout, was likely hired in order to give the film international, if not North American, appeal, given that he's the only cast member American audiences will readily recognize. The engaging performances, which are provided by the entire cast, are bolstered by gorgeous cinematography. It's no surprise that Jeanne boasts one of the highest production budgets of any 2023 French movie. It's all up there on the screen. Jeanne du Barry also marks the second high-profile film of 2023 to feature Marie Antoinette. Including Zamora's role in Jeanne's ultimate fate was a nice touch, given his treatment, both in the film and in life. The filmmakers didn't include her feudal collapsing and begging for mercy on the way to the guillotine. Considering the focus on the main character's risque escapades, Jeanne du Barry could have easily been titled In the City of Lights. So what I'm saying is, you could do a lot worse things with your time than watch Jeanne du Barry. It's not the best French film of all time, but it beats it out of Emily in Paris. In other news, it's time to check out a comment on another video. After checking out my early review of Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, I Like Your Mom 650 said, "Bro said this movie trash, crazy. This is better than your favorite movie." Whatever, good. Shout out to I Like Your Mom 650 for dropping a comment, and special shout out to Astral Knight because one of his comments was deleted after I approved it. Another shout out to everybody who hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. But I've had enough of this conversation. I'm logging off. Church.
Fully cinematic.